Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here, and it's time for another Orns 10-minute take on Swansea City 4, Watford 0. Well, the rain falls hard here in San Francisco as I record this, and the Watford first team of men falls harder still, and on their own sword. Their performance in this game was absolutely abject and pathetic. Missing in action, didn't try, didn't bother, and that second half, well, that was a shambolic exercise in pretending to be a professional football player. That was the epitome of this Watford team. Absolute garbage and dumpster fire extraordinaire. The Watford team that got embarrassed, humiliated, had their pants pulled down on Boxing Day at home by Millwall for the second time this season is a Watford side that plummeted ever further into the depths of I couldn't care less. It wasn't that Watford didn't have belief against a Swansea City side that hadn't won in 8 games. It wasn't that a Watford side just weren't confident. It wasn't something, quite frankly, that had to do with anything with what's between the ears up here. It had everything to do with a Watford team who, despite having some lively moments in the first parts of this game, was a Watford team who just preferred to not turn up for the vast majority of this game and give away cheap goals, silly free kicks, and get booked for ill-advised dissent. Dissent that got their teammate Hassan Kamara selfishly sent off in the game just 3 or 4 days prior to this one. I said that Watford was somewhat lively in this match, at least in the first 30 minutes or so. They looked like they would improve upon their horrendous display against Millwall. And look, after watching the Millwall match, anything was going to be an improvement. And actually, for the first half hour or so, it was. But Watford did not press nearly enough. The ball movement was not consistently fast. And Watford really did not make the most of the opportunities they tried to fathom, and to make materialize. They didn't fashion the opportunities. That's what I'm trying to get to. Because they didn't care. And after William Troost-Ekong clumsily, foolishly, stupidly struck a ball at a Swansea player, only to see within 8 seconds that same ball going straight past Daniel Backlund and into the back of the Watford net, the Watford lads said, that's enough, we're done, let's go home. And with that, Watford proceeded to play the remainder of this game in vast invisibility and indifference. Indifference to the fans of Watford who had traveled hundreds of miles and, in one case that I am aware of, 7 hours of a round trip. Indifferent to the fans who spent their hard-earned money, the Watford faithful who are there every week for this team, even when the team is not there for themselves. They didn't care about the Watford faithful. They didn't care about the manager. Why would they care about Slaven Bilic when they know that the owner treats managers in such a disrespectful and ruthless way? Managers who should never be getting sacked. Rob Edwards, Exhibit A. Managers who give you something to build upon. Cisco Munoz. Managers who get you promoted to leagues. Slavisa Djukanovic. And then get dumped by the doorstep, ready for rubbish collection the next morning after achieving what they wanted to achieve. These players know that Gino Pozzo is not going to get rid of them. These players know that they have protection from the owner. These players know that no matter how pathetic they are, no matter how unprofessional they are, whether it's a shove to a Millwall player by Hassan Kamara, whether it is the disgraceful performance, a no-show performance against Millwall, or this one against a Swansea side again who hadn't won in 8 games, they know that the owner has their back. They know that no matter how terrible they are on that pitch, no matter how selfish, no matter how careless and lazy and sloppy, and no matter how much of a disappearing act Ismail Assar that they pull, the owner of the club always has their back. It's been the same old song throughout this season. And I realize it now. This is not about confidence. It's not about a lack of confidence. It's not about having a mentality. That's not it. They are very clear on what their mentality is. Their mentality is very clear indeed. And that mentality is to not turn up to football matches. That mentality is to just pick up their wage and not give of themselves, not give of the quality that they are capable of, not give of being leaders on the pitch. Swansea City had very little to do in this game, but benefit from Watford error after Watford error after Watford error, or Watford sabotage after Watford sabotage after Watford sabotage. Because the way these goals were conceded was so easily down to deliberate mistakes. Yes, I said it, deliberate mistakes. This team tanked it tonight. This team caved tonight. This team didn't want to be there tonight. And as we've seen it throughout this season, they pick games to completely sabotage the works and take the night off. They took the night off tonight. They took the day off on Boxing Day. They took the time off against Coventry, against Hull, against Blackburn, Blackpool, Bristol City. They took the night off in a whole load of games this season, and that has been more the norm, more the usual thing than the unusual thing. They took the day off in both of these games against Millwall. I mean, I'm up to about 7 games now where they have taken the day off. They were horrible against West Bromwich Albion in the second game of the season. They showed no signs of life in that game. They were very lucky to get out of there with a point. How they did, I don't know. Against Birmingham, they were fortunate to hold on to the point that they got. That was a 1-1 draw. And they were fortunate that they didn't lose at home against Sunderland. They lost at home against Queen's Park Rangers. They weren't good in some of the early parts of the game against Middlesbrough when they had to come from behind with a late Bakun Bayo goal. Bakun Bayo has not scored at all lately. It's been a long time. Now, granted, he has not had playing time. This Watford team needs to be ejected from the Vic. They need to be gone from the Vic. And it's about time that this owner told us the truth and started instead to rebuild this team from the bottom up. Yes, Watford are in 5th place at the moment, but they could just as well be 5th from bottom because they played worse than 5th from bottom tonight. They played worse than schoolboy football tonight. Schoolboys would have had more passion. Schoolboys would have had more passion in this match tonight. But these players, again, as I said earlier, they know very well that no matter how poor they are, the owner has got their back. And as long as Gino Pozzo continues to be the owner of this team, be the owner of this club, continue to let players slide, you're going to continue to see this kind of performance from Watford players. Now, the players are fully to blame. There's no question about it. Each and every one of those players disgraced themselves. Even the ones who had briefly bright moments in the game, like Samuel Kalu and James Morris. None of these players are worthy of any positive accreditation after that performance. There were no leaders on the pitch. Craig Cathcart, who was in his 250th appearance for Watford tonight, didn't lead, and he's the captain of the team. I didn't see any leadership from him. I didn't see it from any of the other veteran players. William Troost-Ekong is a disgrace. Christian Kabasele, I don't know what was going on tonight. He didn't absolutely stick himself in the eye, but he has not distinguished himself largely in these games this season. And none of these players did tonight. None of them. There's no leadership anywhere. We have a leader on this team, and he now plays for Birmingham City. That's who the leader of this team is. Yes, that same Troy Deeney that many Watford fans said, oh, he can go. We don't want him here. Oh, he's overweight. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. Oh, he's too old. Oh, he ain't got it anymore. Da-da-da-da-da. And I said, and other Watford supporters said, that you're going to miss this man when he leaves here. There's going to be a time when Watford are struggling and you're going to miss him. And here we are. Here's that time. Troy Deeney is playing with spirit and heart and belief. That's what he's doing. What are we playing with at Watford FC? What are this men's team, this first team of men? What are they playing with? All they're looking forward to is their wages. And I'll tell you something else. With all the Watford fans that went to South Wales, traveled out there, drove, took trains, boats, whatever the heck they have to do to get to Wales. I don't know what on earth they did. I'm sure they picked a mode of transportation. They may have even flew to the game, for all I know. I don't care how these Watford supporters got there, whether it was staying overnight, whether it was driving over, whatever it was. The Watford players tonight have got to reimburse each of those Watford fans. Take the money out of your wages and make sure you reimburse those Watford supporters who traveled to see you, not give a rat's backside about the game, about the importance of the game, about the situation with the championship in general, and you got 12 or 13 or 14 teams that are within 3 points of you, 2 points of you, 1 point of you. You've got 2 teams running away with it now in the automatic places. And I want to make a correction to something I said in the Orns Twitter space. Watford are 16, I said 18, 16 points behind the leaders Burnley, 16 points. And January is about to begin. A 16-point gap to the first place team. And they're 13 points behind the second place automatic spot with Sheffield United. This was a game tonight against Swansea that Watford had to have after an abject display against a Millwall side who taunted them, toyed with them, trampled them. This is the bullcrap that they decided to present us with on Friday at the Swansea.com stadium. And that bullcrap stunk to high heaven. These players do not care about anything except their wages. They are pampered, they are spoilt, and all of that is a tone that is set by Gino Pozzo. Had Gino Pozzo chosen to be more ruthless with the players, or as ruthless with the players as he is when he gets rid of managers, I think we might have seen a different performance tonight from this Watford first team. This men's first team has not been an enigma. They're not an enigma. They know what they're doing. They know what they're going to do before they get on the pitch. They're not going to give 110% effort. And that's why Swansea had an easy time tonight, because Swansea were given gift after gift after gift. Instead of dominating and destroying a Swansea side that was bereft of confidence, having not won in 8 games, Watford gladly obliged to be the sacrificial lamb for Swansea City, as Swansea got well very quickly in this game in the second half. In fact, when you got to the 74th minute, and then just 4 minutes later, 2 goals inside of 5 minutes, Swansea had finished Watford off, and any pretense that Watford cared about putting up a fight in this game were well and truly vanquished. 2 goals in 5 minutes, a 3-0 Swansea lead, done and dusted. All 3 of those first 3 goals, by defensive mistakes or by I couldn't care less, because that was the attitude of every Watford player. Couldn't care less. There was no need for this game to be a 4-0 game. And when that 4th goal came, it was absolutely bewildering and so aggravating, because these goals didn't have to be given up, and given up so easily. Your goal difference plummeted. By the time you started the kickoff against Millwall, you had a +8 goal difference. In these last 2 games against Millwall and against Swansea City, you've now dropped 6 goals. You're down to a +2. 2 more injuries as well. Speaking of +2s, 2 more injuries, João Pedro, and then in tonight's game, Tom Dele-Bashiru. Goodness knows how long he'll be out for. And miraculously, you're still 5th in the table. That is a false position right now for a team that just a few weeks ago had 4 consecutive clean sheets. Now, they've lost 2 in a row and have failed to score in 4 of their last 5 games. And furthermore, they have a player now in Hassan Kamara who's showing you that he is a selfish footballer when it comes to discipline. 7 games he's going to miss this season. 7 games. 7 games. Due to discipline problems. Can't stay on the pitch. Gets sent off. Can't stay on the pitch. Couldn't care. Can't stay on the pitch. Doesn't want to be there. Last season's player of the year is this season's embarrassment. And speaking of embarrassment, Ismaila Sarr can leave right now. Please leave. Please leave the club. I don't care where he goes from here in terms of which club he joins, but at Watford, I don't think he's any longer welcome by the Watford supporters. And of course, there's going to be lots of Watford supporters who are going to back him, who are going to cheer him. I don't dislike Ismaila Sarr as a person. This isn't about personal situations. This is about the professionalism, or shall I say lack thereof, of Ismaila Sarr and other Watford players on this first team. Didn't hustle for the ball, didn't care. He stood there and skipped along. It could have just as well been skip to the loo, my darling. He didn't care about this game. There was no intensity from Ismaila Sarr tonight. You were in a particular position, Ismaila Sarr, to step into the shoes of João Pedro. You knew that it was your night to step up and stand up and be counted. And what did you do? You fell away. Absolutely disintegrated like a bar of flake. It was embarrassing. And you are a true Jekyll and Hyde. So excellent when you're playing for your country, very good at the World Cup, but when you are playing for Watford these days, you don't respect the club anymore. You don't respect the club. You don't care. And that's because the owner doesn't care. He doesn't care about Watford Football Club now. Not on the pitch, he doesn't. His investment in Watford now it's a complete mess. And the fans, meanwhile, give you blood, sweat, and tears every week. I'll tell you what, the Watford faithful work harder at trying to get to these games than these players work when they're on the pitch on match day. That's what it's getting to be now. Can we have the fans start playing these games for you? And you sit in the stands and you cheer us on because we are there every week for you. Why don't we switch it? Why don't we let the Watford first team sit in the stands? Since they've been sitting in the stands for the last 2 games anyhow. And why don't you give the fans a chance to play these games? I mean, I think the fans at this rate would fare a whole lot better than what we've seen these last 2 games from this miserable lot. Thanks for nothing. I mean, this is the attitude now of these footballers. They do not care. You got Keenan Davis making statements after the Millwall match. Oh, well, actually, I thought that we put up a good fight tonight. We were putting up quite a good fight. How can you even say things like that? How can you say things like that and take yourself seriously with the fans and earn the fans' respect? How can you be saying stuff like that? I thought we battled quite well today, actually. How can you really be looking into a camera on social media for Watford Football Club and as a Watford Football Club men's first team player say that into the camera? You cannot possibly believe what you are saying. You're either lying to yourself or you're lying to all of us. Either way, you would be lying if you really thought that Watford against Millwall at the Vic on Boxing Day battled quite well. Didn't happen. Ask any Watford supporter who watched that game either at the Vic or anywhere else on the planet. None of them would agree with you. And I saw Daniel Bachman and listened to him or read his tweet saying that they just did not do well in that game. So how come Daniel Bachman is saying that you didn't perform well, and then you're getting in front of a camera and telling the world, well, actually, I thought we battled quite well today? So obviously there's a difference of opinion amongst teammates. And then the nerve of you to talk and say that you are going to have to repay the fans with a better performance against Swansea. It's embarrassing. You are taking this club for a mug right now. It's not just one player, it's all these players. And the players who are not injured are the players who don't give a damn. At least from these last 2 performances, all the players who are injured happen to be the ones who I think actually care. I think Tom Cleverley cares. I think Imran Louza cares. I think João Pedro definitely cares. And I think Hamza Chowdhury actually cares as well. I think Dan Gosling cares. I think Ken Sema cares. He didn't play tonight, had hamstring tightness. So I've just named you roughly 7 players, all injured, who I think actually do care. Tom Dele-Bashiru, the latest injury candidate, he's not even a candidate, he was injured. That's 8. He played tonight, but I think he cares despite the poor performance. He had been one of the 2 best players Watford have had lately. João Pedro was the other. Since Tom Dele-Bashiru came back, he actually played quite well in these games, for the most part. I think he cares. But all the players who are injured care, and all the players who are playing don't give a rat's damn about what happens at this club. They've got their wages, they've got an owner who has their back, and the luxury of knowing that no matter how far they fail to even turn up to one of these matches, any of these matches, pick one, they know that Slaven Bilic is the one who will be getting the exit. And I hope that Slaven Bilic doesn't leave. I hope he doesn't, but he looks exasperated. And he's been there barely 3 months. And he looks exasperated, fed up, had enough, done with it. Even in his post-match press conference, he was saying the things that Keenan Davis wouldn't say against Millwall. He was downright honest, was the manager, Slaven Bilic, about how pathetic this performance was. And these players have got to be held accountable for that. These players need to refund every Watford supporter that went to that match, traveled to South Wales. Shame on these players. You lot live a very charmed life. You've got people who have all kinds of adversity travel into these games to get away from that adversity for 2 or 3 hours, or 7 hours, or 10 hours in the round trip, however long it is. And footballers, even with your adversity, come into a match and don't turn up. You need to refund each and every one of these Watford supporters. And the fact that none of you has even volunteered to do that yet, publicly, tells us everything we need to know about how selfish these players are in this game. These players are playing for their wages and they're playing for themselves. I have never seen in any game this season such a gulf between two strikers playing up top. Ismail Assar and Keenan Davis may as well have been on different planets. They may as well have been on different planets. They may have as well have been on different solar systems. Different solar systems. They may have well as been completely absent because they were. They were nowhere to be seen in this game. No one's holding up the ball anymore. Nobody's pressing. Nobody's closing down on defenders. You see that there was all kinds of space for Swansea to score easy goal after easy goal after easy goal. Nobody tracking back, nobody getting in the faces of these Swansea players. And then you give away stupid free kicks. Stupid free kicks. And had Swansea players got their heads to some very good Swansea deliveries tonight, it could have been 6 or 7-0. But the 4 goals that they scored were gifted to them. Gifted. Swansea fans probably couldn't believe their luck. The players of Swansea couldn't believe their luck either. 8 games without a win. And that's all forgotten now because of a pathetic Watford no-show. As long as this owner is in place, he is going to continue to radiate the attitude. Don't worry. The manager's going to get it. You are not going to have to worry about a thing. Absolutely appalling. A terrible way to end this horrible calendar year for Watford. They began the year in January on the first of the month, literally the first day of the year, with a defeat at home to Tottenham in the Premier League, and they end 2022, one day before the final day of the year, with an embarrassment of a defeat. They got hammered tonight without any effort at all from Swansea. 4-0. Thanks for coming, boys. And thanks for the 3 points. I mean, that's what it was. Thanks for the 3 points. Watford should have been just content to donate the 3 points to them instead of pretending that they really cared to play this match. They didn't want to be on that pitch. You could tell after that 39th minute goal, they didn't want to be anywhere on that pitch, especially that second half. No fight back. Would they even respond to anything the manager might have told them at halftime? No. They don't want us to respond to it. They came out even worse. Totally tanked the game. Didn't care. Didn't want to be there. I tell you, the fans, we have had enough of this. And I'm telling you, these fans would have been better off playing the game than watching it yesterday, because this game was shambolic from start to finish. No commitment to winning, no commitment to teamwork, no commitment to effort or intensity. There wasn't any effort out there. That's the thing that I'm ticked off at. No effort. Didn't close down. He had Swansea players in acres of space. Acres of space. They didn't care. They didn't care. This Watford side didn't care. They know that their wages are safe. They know that they're going to be not having to do with anything. Slaven Bilic can talk about dealing with internal matters, but this lot are just going to laugh in his face because they know he's literally another 1 or 2 defeats at the very most from walking out of here and becoming an ex-Watford head coach. That's literally on the cards now. If Watford FC, if this men's first team perform anywhere close to this on Monday night against Norwich to begin the new year, Slaven Bilic is going to be fired. He's going to be sacked. He's gone. He's going to be a goner. He will be gone. Just like Dean Smith was gone for Norwich right after the defeat that he had this week, his team suffered against our rival. And the players know this. The players have a lot of power now. And the players know that all they have to do is not turn up against Norwich. And they know that this manager will be gone. So Slaven Bilic has his hands tied because the owner is going to side with the players. And the owner has sent a message to the players with the way he deals with managers that it's perfectly all right, lads. Don't worry, because you're not going anywhere. I need you more than I need the manager. I'm not going to sack 12 players, 11 players, 15, 16 players, 17 players. I'm going to sack one manager who doesn't deserve to be sacked. Do you think Cisco deserved to be sacked? Do you think Rob Edwards deserved to be sacked? Do you think Slavisha Jokanovic deserved to be sacked? Do you think that Kike Sanchez Flores in his first iteration at the Vic deserved to be sacked? And maybe you might ask that about Javi Gracia as well. But when you have no permanent plan or a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan, when you don't have any of those things, you're going to always be flying by the seat of your pants.